answers prayer. God answers prayer. He's so good to me.
Hi, I'm glad you're joining us today for Little Logos. Our lesson today is about Moses. We know stories about Moses from the Bible because Moses was such an important man. Today we're going to find out about 3 stories in the life of Moses that are important for us today because God is always with us. In the land where Moses was born, the Pharaoh was trying to get rid of all the Israelite babies, and so there was an edict, a rule, that all babies that were born needed to be thrown into the river and drowned. But Moses' mother wanted something different from him, and she believed in God and that God could help save him. So she built a little basket, and she put the little baby Moses into the basket and then floated him on the river. Let's listen to the story as we find out more about what happened to the baby Moses. While the baby slept, she put him gently into the cradle, and she carried him to the water's edge, taking Moses' sister Miriam with her. She placed the basket among the reeds beside the water and left Miriam to keep watch. Soon Miriam heard people coming. She hid so she could see who was coming. "Look," said the princess, "there's a basket in the reeds. Will you bring it to me?" As the helper picked up the basket and handed it to the princess, the baby woke up, looked at the princess, and burst into tears. "Poor little thing," said the princess. "He must be an Israelite baby. He needs to be saved." Her kind look gave Miriam courage. She stepped bravely forward. "Would you like to have a nurse for the baby?" "Yes," said the princess, and Miriam hurried home and fetched her mother. The princess looked keenly at the mother, and then she said, "You take this baby and look after him for me. When he is older, he will come live at the palace and be brought up as my son. I will call him Moses." And so that was how God helped Moses as a baby to be saved. As Moses grew at his home with his sister and his family, he knew he would go live at the palace. He always remembered to be faithful to God. After he grew up, he became a leader of the Israelites and his own people. Moses talked often with God. After a while, the king was not so kind to the people that Moses led and did many things to make them unhappy with their circumstances. Moses kept pleading with the king or Pharaoh to let his people go. There were many, many disasters that happened to the people, and finally the king said they could leave. As they left Egypt, they had many hardships. They had taken all their animals, they had taken a small amount of food, and they had taken tents to live in while they were looking for a new home. They knew that God was with them. One evening, they were camping by the Sea of Reeds. And about this time, this is when the king or Pharaoh said, "You know, I'm not getting as much work done around here without those people. Maybe I should send my army after them, and we'll bring them back, and they can work for me again and be my slaves." So Moses was with these people, and they were camping by the Sea of Reeds, and all of a sudden they got really worried because they could hear great armies coming. So let's hear the next part of the story. The Israelites were busy setting up their camp near the Sea of Reeds. In front of them lay the waters of the lake, and all around them was a desert. Suddenly, someone came to camp and said a dust cloud was on the horizon, and they were able to see the war chariots of Egypt coming nearer by the minute. The people were frightened. Moses told them, "God is with us." But the people said, "Why didn't you leave us there in Egypt instead of bringing us into the desert to be killed?" "Don't be frightened," said Moses. "God will save us from the Egyptians." But the Egyptians were coming nearer. The only way of escape was the water. But how would all those people get across the water? They were trapped. But then God spoke to Moses. "Tell the people not to panic, but to start marching forward. I am going to rescue my people and show the Egyptians that I am God. All you need to do is hold your stick over the water, then wait to see what will happen." Moses did just as God had told him. He lifted his stick high over the Sea of Reeds. A strong east wind began to blow. It whipped up the waters of the lake into a bank on either side, leaving a clear pathway through the sea. Let's use these blocks to see how that might look. So here's all the water. And what God did was he separated the water so there was a path and the people could walk through. Let's see what happens to the Pharaoh's army. By this time, the Egyptian horses and chariots were almost on their heels. They began to go into the path through the water. But the wheels of their chariots soon clogged and stuck in the mud. The wheels only got stuck more tightly. As morning came, the last of the Israelites had safely reached the other side of the sea. "Hold your stick out over the water again," God told Moses. As he did so, the water came flowing back, and all of the people in the army were lost in the water of the lake once more. As the Israelites traveled in the desert, they ran out of food. There was little food and no water in the desert to drink. So the people once again became very upset with Moses for having them there. "Why did you bring us here? In Egypt we had all the food we wanted. Now we're starving." "It's your fault, Moses." God said to Moses, "I will give the people food." And he told Moses how it would happen. That very night, huge flocks of quails, little birds, flew over the black goatskin tents. Some rested on the ground where they were quickly caught and turned into a tasty supper. The next morning, something even more amazing happened. The Israelites looked out. Something white and flaky was left all over the ground. They tasted it, and it was sweet, like honey biscuits. They did not know what it was, so they called it manna, which means, "What is it?" Every day, except on the Sabbath, it was there waiting for them to collect. They could eat it raw or use it cooked. They were so happy that God had provided them something to eat. For 3 days, the people of Israel had gone on without finding fresh water. They found a small pool of water, but once they tasted it, they found it was not good for drinking. "Do something, Moses," they begged. And Moses asked God to help. God showed him a piece of wood laying nearby, and Moses threw it into the water. The bitter taste vanished, and they were able to drink. The Israelites were thankful, but later on, they had to go on their way in the desert again. Once again, they were thirsty. "Give us water. Why did you bring us here if we have no water?" So again, Moses talked to God, and God said, "Take your stick, go with the leaders of the people to a rock, and I will show you. Hit that rock with your stick." Moses did just as God said. When he struck the rock with his stick, fresh, clear water poured out, and all could drink and quench their thirst. But Moses is wondering, how will the Israelites learn that they can trust God? Moses continued to trust God. So what we need to remember from this is that even though we believe in God, sometimes things get difficult. And like Moses, we just need to keep talking to God and remember to follow his directions. And just like the Israelites, they needed to keep talking to Moses so that they could be encouraged to do what God said. Moses was saved as a baby, and then God helped Moses lead the people to safety. God provided food and water, and God will help us no matter what. So today, you saw that I made a little Moses in the basket with the play-doh, so you can do that. Perhaps you have some blocks and you can pretend to separate them so the Israelites could walk through. Perhaps you're ready for a snack. I brought some little crackers today to represent the manna that God provided for them. And I have a cup with some water so that we can remember that God also provided water for the people to drink. We also have an activity page. And on this activity page that you have at your home, it asks us to circle some things that we might want, but we don't really need. So you can look at that and see. I think all of us would agree that we need a place to live. It might not look like this, but we need a place to be safe. We might need some food, and we might need some sunshine, but maybe we just like to have candy or like to have ice cream. A kitty is nice, and a teddy bear is nice, and maybe we'd like to have a bicycle so we can go places. So you can talk about this page with your family and see what kinds of things you like and what kinds of things you need. In your packet also is a little song that we can sing today. I think your paper might look like this, and so the little song is on here, and it's on the tune to "Row, row, row your boat." Float, float, float along down the river Nile. Baby Moses, safe and dry, makes a princess smile. And then, for this part of the story, cross, cross, cross the sea when it opens wide. Follow Moses where he leads so you won't have to hide. And then, drink, drink, drink your fill, eat that heavenly bread too. Follow Moses where he leads, and God will care for you. I've enjoyed being with you today, and before we go, will you pray with me? Dear God, thank you for this day, and thank you for reminding us of the story of Moses. He started as a baby and pledged to follow you all his life. As an adult, he helped the people escape a land where they had so many hardships. And in the desert, as they were looking for a new home, he helped them, with God's help, to find food and water and a safe new place to raise their families. Thank you for all these things, and help us to remember to listen to the things that God tells us to do as well. Amen.